Okay, guys. Last time we talked about the after insert trigger, and I had like it was a almost an hour video that explains how to get the almost perfect trigger line by line. This time we're going to talk about the after delete trigger before we go to after update. Okay. Um, the update is a little bit more complicated, so we will talk more about that later. But for this today, it's going to demand a little of knowledge of the after insert trigger because there were certain piece of codes there that I'm also going to be using here. And if you don't understand here, you might have to go back there and take a look at it because it was like almost an hour video that explained line by line on how to get to that point. And here we have something similar, but it's not going to be as long. And um, and again, there will be pieces of the other trigger, right? We also modified the tables a little bit to see certain other things to make it easier. When I had only the after insert, there were certain columns that didn't really need it. But now that I'm evolving to after delete and thinking of also after update later on or any other type of trigger, I made something that's going to help us to understand a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to keep the names of the tables the same, and I'm going to start creating them here. But some things might be different. Like for example, username. I don't think I had for the error log before the username on the after insert. And if you don't know what is the error log, again, go back to the previous video on after insert and you'll see why I have this error log table. Okay. And so I'm going to create here, I think this didn't change much, the person table. And then for the purpose of this trigger and also having the insert, we're going to create a audit. Okay, we already had it. The only difference here, it's going to be the modified by. I can't remember if we had the timestamp. Well, doesn't. I think we did, but we didn't have the modified by. Okay, now we're going to have this. We're going to need that. Okay, I made this as primary key here so that we can understand something later on. It's a different concept that I want to introduce. And but that's the type of concept where I see a lot of triggers there sometimes. I would say more for junior developers trying to don't know what some errors sometimes come, and I see that happen a lot. So I'm putting that in there so we can discuss a little bit more about this primary key in the audit. Okay, this audit table is pretty much a history table. Okay, it's gonna just show me changes or things that happen for certain records in the person table. I'm mainly concerned about the person table. And then if I want a history of what happened, I'll come to the audit. Okay. So I have already a trigger for insert. This is exactly the same as we had previously, with the exception of the new row, right? I'm sorry, new column. Since I added this column, I also had to add this in here. Okay. So that's the only difference, but everything else is the same. Okay. So let's create this trigger. Not going to talk much about this trigger right now, as we already know. Um, and now I'm going to check the table. Let's see what we have in there. Person audit, nothing is in there. I have my, let me make sure I get this execution plan in place. And I'm going to make an insert. Also will not evaluate what happened in that insert for the after insert trigger because we already did that. But I want to see what we have in there, right? So we have those two things inserted in the person and also in the person audit because that's what my after insert did. But now I also have an action here saying, hey, what happened here? This was inserted. I have a timestamp and I had who inserted. Okay. Um, I'm using well, what is this username? Okay. Some people use the system user. I'm gonna show that later. You know, in this for the purpose of this, doesn't really matter much which one you're gonna use as long as you know as long as you're consistent and you know what you're looking for, right? In this case, I just want to see who actually made a change, um, and I actually have the same here for the error log. Okay, so but there's no errors, right? So if I come here to the error log, nothing is going on, right? So I know with the insert is working fine. Okay, now we're gonna go to create our first delete trigger. Okay, and let me just highlight this and create. And there's certain things there that we're gonna check, and I'm gonna tell you what they are before we run this trigger, so you know what's happening. Here is the exact same thing that we did for the after insert. Okay, Go back there and check it. Okay. I'm having the process here. What is this? This is just the name of the trigger, TD person. This is the action that I'm using. This is for me to know where I'm at as I debug, right? But then I have this here. Select deleted from deleted and select insert. Like this is just a placeholder, okay? I mean, I could just put anything in here. Okay, I just want to see which one is actually being executed as I run this trigger. Okay, so, but what are those tables? We saw that in the insert, in the after insert, we had this table there, inserted, okay, which is a virtual table that can hold a lot of records if you do inserts in a batch way, right? So it's we saw how that is good for performance if we do in a batch way rather than in a as one by one, right? But we also have this table, and as I think as you can imagine, the deleted is like things that got deleted, right? So I'm putting those two in here just to see if they're gonna fail. Okay, I want to see if this exists when I do a delete. Okay, so that's why I have this in here. This will later on disappear, but let's keep that one in there right now. Okay, then I have the exact same thing that I had for the insert, but in this case, use deleted instead of inserted because again, I'm doing a delete after, right? Or after delete. Um, and then once I do the delete, what's going to happen is I'm going to insert into person audit that the person was deleted, and then I'm going to show who did it, the timestamp, all that. Everything else is pretty much the same. Okay. We can maybe see here the trunk count if that's the case. All right. So I think I created it already, but since I don't remember, bad memory, let me do it again. Okay, here it is. All right, great. So I'm gonna delete. Okay. Before that, let's see again what I have in there. So I have Ivan, and I have Ivan, weird Ivan with a capital M at the end. I'm gonna try to delete something that does not exist in this table. It's gonna be Ivan 1. As we see that it's not there. Okay. So let's see what's gonna happen when I do that. All right. So I saw that what happened is the TD person trigger was called, but there's no delete from row count big. So in this case here, what it's saying is, hey, look, it's actually getting to this point and say, there's no delete. So get out. Like, I don't want to execute all of this. There's no need, right? Remember that this has an influence in our execution plan, right? As we do. So like in this case here, since I did that, if I check the execution plan, we see that not much happened except for the trying to delete something that didn't exist. Okay. So yeah, so that's why we have this in here. This is gonna just make things go faster and not use so much resources. But now I'm gonna try to delete something that exists, and that's gonna be Ivan. Okay, so let's try to do that. And as I do that, we see that it's saying the number of transactions before deleting person audit are 1. So there is a transaction going on here, and I think this is called um, this is for the before, right? So this one, so this never got called because there was a deletion. This got called. Then we had these two guys. Let me see here. We actually see that there's a deleted. And for the inserted, so that means that this table is there, but nothing was inserted, right? So there's no records. But for this one, there is records there. Okay, that's the whole purpose of this. Just to show that we have this virtual table here also for deleted. That when we do after delete, that's going to be there. If we delete something, if we don't, then nothing's going to be there, of course, right? Which is what this one he's also checking, right? It's saying if there's anything in the delete. Let's say that for whatever reason this failed because we had a statement somewhere out there before it that invalidated this if, then this one's going to get called and say, hey, let me see if there's anything to delete it. And if that's the case, do this, right? But the problem is we saw an error here, right? Saying the transaction ending in trigger. The batch has been aborted. And I have no idea what happened. And at the end, he's also calling this guy here and saying, hey, you were successfully triggered. But I know he wasn't. Like this saying right here. I know he wasn't. Because look at this. I don't like this nasty errors, right? What is the problem here? We don't have much information on what happened here, right? And if I go to my error log, let me see here my error log. Oh, I don't have it here. So let me actually just try it. Here. So let's start from error log. See if I have anything in there. So it's telling me, great. So that's why one of the reasons why I have an error log, right? Because it tells me, hey, you have a violation of primary key. Cannot insert duplicate key. Okay. So the problem, where's the problem? I know the problem is right here, right? So we saw that the message, for example, oh, now well, let me try to, no, that was not deleted, right? Let me see here if that was actually deleted. It was not deleted, right? And the reason is because we talked also about after insert, there is implicit transaction when we run triggers. So even though I didn't put this, well, in this case here, I mean, just see here, well, this actually has a, already have all the things from the other after insert. But I mean, here I'm actually doing a rollback. But even if you didn't have that, that would work. And we saw that in the after insert because there is an implicit um, transaction. Okay. But in this case here, it logged for me the error, and that's awesome. Okay. And let me go back there to the error and see what was that again. So it tells me where it's coming from. It tells me what is the problem. So it's trying to insert the same key into this table person audit. I have this ugly primary key name. That's because I didn't do a named primary key, right? Which that's one of the reasons why I don't like, or we shouldn't be doing things like this. Just put like a primary key like this. We're only doing here because it's only for training purposes. But when we do just this primary key, we have like a primary key that we have no idea what the name is or where does it live. Like it's a mess, right? So, but in this case here, I know this is the problem. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna name it here as cluster, and let's see if that's gonna do anything. Now let me put that all capital. Should look good. Cluster. So I'm gonna drop everything again. Okay, I'm gonna drop both of those, and I'll create the trigger for the insert. So now I don't have anything in here, but I'm gonna insert things, and if I do this again, I'll have that. I still have the error log. I didn't drop it, right? So it's still there, but like I see, I have this in here, right? I'm gonna create this trigger again. Let's go back there, create it. If I do this, it's gonna kick out from the, oh, what's going on here? Yeah, take a little longer. It kicked out from the row count big. So I know there's nothing was logged or anything happened. But if I do this here, I also have a problem, right? And guess what is the problem? The same thing, okay? So sometimes we believe that by putting a cluster in here, things are gonna work, and that's also not the case, okay? So if we wanna actually make this in a way that we can read and make it easier to understand when a developer is actually reading stuff, this is how I like to do. I just like to create a clustered index, okay? And then based on that, things will or should work because now it's not the primary key, it's a cluster index, which means it doesn't have to be unique. Let's test that out. Okay, so let me create this all again. I'm gonna do the inserts as well. Let me check the error log. I'm gonna go up into here and then I'm gonna run it again. Okay, so I still have those two there. I had nothing before. If I actually do the select here now, okay, now they're all showing there. And let me create this trigger again. All right, there. If I run this, nothing will happen. Row count big. If I run this other one, and let me check here again, I see that person is still there. The error logs are there. But what if I do this now? Now it got deleted because, oh, at least I didn't have any message here. It's saying it was called successfully. Everything is good. And if I go to the error log, we will see nothing there. But what about the person audit? Let's see what is different in the person audit now. Oh, let me actually select the whole thing. So now I see that Ivan is not here anymore, okay, because he was deleted. And I see that he was inserted at this time, okay, and he was deleted at this time. Now, it looks like this is actually wrong, all right, because we have a different timestamp. So let's fix that. And let me run it again, okay. Here, I'm gonna do, to make that work, instead of using this timestamp from the deleted, I'm just gonna use get get it. Okay, so if I do that, now I should capture the right timestamp. For the insert, it will be the same, right? Because it's at the time you inserted, that's the time it was created, right? And in fact, I like to use the exact same just because you could have like that difference in milliseconds if you put get date in the insert, all right? So, but in the delete, it's fine. Like we know there was a time it was deleted, and we don't want to get the exact same timestamp, right? So I'm gonna do this again. Let's create that once again. Okay, and this time I'm gonna delete the whole thing here and recreate them all with the clustered index. Create the insert, the after insert. Let's keep running all this. All right, I have this in here as inserted. Great, and now I'm gonna create the delete. All right, if I run this, I'm gonna have a row count big thing that's not gonna let the whole thing execute. And if I run this, what's gonna happen is now it got deleted, and let's check again the person audit. So I see that Ivan was first created at this time, and it was later deleted at this time. Okay, I have who deleted and everything. Okay, remember this was the thing causing issue previously because I had this as a primary key, which was unique, and now I have an unclustered index, which is not unique. Okay, so now it works. Before it wasn't working because of this one here, right? So to have my let me make a few more inserts here. Okay, let's see what I got in there right now. So I have a few more, some weird Ivans there. Okay, now I'm gonna have the perfect. Is that the time yet? Let me just see. Oh, I guess not. No, yeah, that's the perfect one. That's the perfect one, but I have to change one thing here, which is the get date. Okay. So remember, I added this here so we could see the delete in the insert table, but I don't need that, all right? That's only to show you that those virtual tables are there, okay? Now with the perfect trigger, which is this, the exact same thing that we had previously, with removing those things, right? And then doing insert. Let me just make sure, well, I don't have the user, so let me add the user here. I think I forgot. What was it modified by? And I want and here I can here to show you again we should be consistent, right? But I can use system user, and that would work just fine. Okay, and let me prove that to you. So let me run here the perfect um, delete trigger. We're almost perfect. All right, run that. Now let me actually try. And did I actually try to break anything here? I'm not sure if I did. Try to remember here. Well, I don't know. Let me run it, and let me see who is there because I don't remember to see who I'm deleting. So I'm deleting uh, this guy right here. All right. So let's try to delete that. See if that's gonna work. Well, apparently it worked. Let's check the execution plan because that's something we didn't see. I didn't talk. I talked a lot in the after insert, but here I didn't. But as you can see, when I run one simple delete, this all happens, right? Because now I'm going into the table, person table. Then, since it's checking if there's anything from the deleted table, it's doing that select, and then it's doing the insert, right? So as you can see, we have three things doing just for one single insert. And since it worked, let's see what happened. So that guy got deleted, Ivan with a huge M. I have that information here. Oh, right here, I guess. Yeah, that's the one. That one is the one deleted. It was created here. 3 minutes later, it was deleted. Created by me, deleted by me. Okay. So this is the deleted. Once you understand the after insert, the delete is very simple. It's almost the same. Okay. If you go there now and try to delete a bunch, you see that if you delete one by one, it's going to be a problem. But if you actually delete in a batch, it's going to be faster. Okay. So let's keep that in mind that databases are done so that we can do things in a batch, right? Which means that it's gonna be more beneficial if we do it that way. Okay. So for delete, I think that's it. Um, if you have any questions about delete, yeah, put in the comment. Yeah, I'll answer whenever I can. But you would be you'd be benefited. There would be much more beneficial if you go to after insert and understand that, because all of those things here, how to use this error log and how to use in the script, how I can log both errors if that's the case, and know exactly where to go. You find that all in there. Okay. So yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. Thanks, guys.